Hello friends, so far we have learned about Python basic concept, conditions and loops. From this video, we are starting one of the most important concept in Python, that is nothing but functions. Functions make programs clean, reusable and professional. Today we will learn what a function is, how to define it and how to call it. Starting from the beginner level, we'll start with the detailed practical examples as well. Let's right now see what is function exactly in Python. In simple word, a function is a block of code that performs a specific task and can be reused whenever needed. Imagine writing the same code in 10 different places. Instead, you write it once instead of inside a function and call it again and again as per your requirement. This is called as code reusability and modular programming in Python. Let's right now talk about what is a function syntax. In Python, we define a function using a def keyword. Like I have shown a small example on the screen. Just check that. I will explain the thing one by one over here. For defining a function, we normally use the def keyword. After def, we write the function name. Here it is exactly the greet that I use it. Then we add a parenthesis bracket using a round and the closing brackets. After that, a colon is used and indentation starts on the next line. Indentation means the styling of a code to write in a Python. And this intent block becomes the function body over here. In this current function, like a greet over here, I just write a print function to print something from the function body. It is just a definition or defined format of a function body. It is not yet executed because right now we haven't called that function to execute the respective output for us. Okay, now if I want to call the function, there is a specific way. For calling a function in Python, we have to use its name. Here it is exactly the greet that we have already defined the name along with that. So if we use that greet name and call that function, then it calls the respective functions over there and execute the respective body of that evaluated output and get us the result exactly. Here it will print the respective output from the print function from the function body. So this how we can use a function syntax and a calling of a function in a Python code. Let's right now see one practical example how we can define a function and how we can call it exactly. So I have already opened a Python window over here. Let me just create a file really quick, which I am going to name as in functions over here. Okay. Now I will write a small code of snippet over here and line by line I will explain them in each how they are exactly working. So basically I'm performing the functions over here. So let me just comment down a function comment over here, function syntax and the calling approach, function syntax and calling approach. You feel like amazed like why every time I mention the comments or the any topic scenario, because why I'm mentioning, let me just clarify to you. It makes me easier to understand the code afterwards when I open it again. You can also follow the same strategy and get it the code more clearly understanding in any scenario, like you open 6 months 5 months, anyhow whenever you open, if you see the comments then you will get to see what functionality you have performed over there. So that's why I put a comment over here. Okay, now let's come to the point. Talk about the Python syntax, function syntax and the function calling proper overview here. So basically, if I want to use a function in Python, so we have to use a keyword called def specifically, like def, and I want to give some name to the function. It is specific to the operation or the action that you want to get it performed by that function specifically. Like here, I take an example. I want to greet somebody. So I will take the name function of function name as a greet over here, like greet and opening and closing bracket, and then the colons over here. Specifically, I'm using, okay, so before that, writing any part inside a function, uh, see over here, once I press a colon over here and press the enter button, Python automatically intent the code inside the function. Why? Because whatever are going to write inside this function, that is seems to be a function body, specifically in Python. So if I write a print function over here, and just a simple statement, I am going to print hello Python. Okay, now see, just I have like define a simple Python function that is printing something over to the terminal. But right now it will not execute till the point right now we have just defined the function, that this how we can define it, and inside that body we can write our code. But in the sense of if you want to use it somewhere in the code, then we have to use it name. Which name exactly? This is the name that we have to use when we have to use this function in any other code or any other point of scenarios. Like here, as an example point of view, I will explain in more detail. If my name is ABC, I want to call me as like by his name or by her name. So I use the specific person name to call that, to call him or call her. So in the same way, if I want to use this function, I am going to use the function name specifically. Like here, it is greet. So I'm going to use a greet in this sense, in this way. So like this, if I save the code right now and try to execute the file, see, it will show the respective function body which we have write inside the function. So this how in Python we can define a function, write the body inside the function, and call the function by using its name. Let's right now talk about return statement in Python. For the same, I have shown a small code of snippet over the screen. Just bear with me. I will explain the just an overview over here right now. Later view, I will explain them in a practical approach as well. So basically, here in the code snippet, I have write a function name with add, which is taking two values as an input over here. And the return keyword is evaluating the value as an addition over here on those two numbers specifically. Now let's talk about a return statement, what it exactly does. Sometime in a function does not just print something is sufficient for us. We want to calculate the result and pass it outside of the body. Then in that case, we can use the return keyword specifically in Python. That what exactly do if we want to evaluate inside a function body, and that evaluated output, if we want to get it outside of a body, that we can use it and store it in the some variable for the further operation. Then we can use the return keyword over from the Python concept. Let's right now talk about the return statement and see practically how return statement exactly works in Python. So basically, I will help you to understand this concept better by means of using a function concept. So, see, as we already know, we use function to perform a certain specific operation, right? Like, and after that operation, we want that function to use multiple times in our code and make our code reusable and modular. Okay, but think in a sense, if we are defining a function and just printing the values over there, like a print statement function over there, that doesn't make any sense. That simple print statement we are defining inside a function body, and then we are calling the function name, and then we are using the print statement. That makes sense? No, it obviously not makes sense if that function is doing certain operations over there, like it might be addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division, whatever it might be. Just an example point of view, I just use some arithmetical expressions over here, like a mathematical expression, you can say. But
As think about in a way, if that function is doing a certain evaluated operation for us, like a complex operation that I don't want to write multiple times in the code and use it multiple times once I deploy it in the function. So that how we can come across with the scenario by using the return statement in Python. So let's right now see by a practical example how we can use in that scenario if you want to evaluate something and get the result from the function. So as we already know, if you want to use a function, then we use the def keyword. For the simplicity of over here right now, I am going to perform addition of a two numbers, taking a user input from the user side and perform the evaluation and get the result back to the user. So basically, here I use the def keyword and I want to perform an addition. So I will key the name of the function as a add over here and I want to take two variables from the user. So a comma b in the parenthesis I can mention for the function to evaluate the output a comma b, then the colon, then the in the inside function body I can use the return keyword, evaluate the output k plus b, and then simply I can call a function to perform the operation on like a variable value specifically 3 comma 4 over here. I'm just passing the value for the evaluation to the function, perform the addition on this number and give me the result. But as we have already just call over here, not just print the values over to the user. So for that, we have to use a variable over here. Whatever the operation that function perform for us, like addition, it perform by using that using the input from the users. Sorry, from the user, it take the input and evaluate it for us. After that evaluated output, it return the result to us. Once it return the result to us, we have to store in some variable. So afterward, we can use that variable to evaluate it further. So here I use a sum variable over here, and then I want to print that sum. What is the result of that evaluated result? Sorry, not 7 over here, sum. So save it, and then if I run the code over here, see, I get a result in output. So this makes sense if any specific operation is getting done inside a function body, and regardless of writing multiple times right now, we can simply call a function, pass the parameter to that function, and it will evaluate a specific operation in this manner by using the return keyword in Python.
So friends, today we learn about what a function is, how to define a function, how to call a function, and a basic use case of a return statement as well. In the next video, we will be covering the types of function argument in detail and also see them by an practical example as well. If you found this helpful, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon. Stay tuned for more Python tutorial. See you in the next video.